Hello guys, it's Spurs 21 here, back with another video for you. Now, obviously the big news of football over the course of the last 24 hours has been the agreement from 12 clubs worldwide, 6 of them from the Premier League, that have announced that they will create their own breakaway European league, the European Super League. The top six of England, the top 3 of Spain, and the top 3 of Italy have all signed on. And of course, the big 6 in England include Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and us, Spurs. I've seen loads of people give their opinions over the last day or so, but I wanted time, just to myself to kind of just think it through, in my own way and try and see what the possible ramifications are, or what this could maybe lead to in the future, and how it'll affect football domestically and on the international level as well. So I'm gonna this video is basically gonna be me giving you my thought. And before I start, guys, I don't ask for you to either like the video or dislike the video. Just listen through all the way to the end and just then make your judgment. So, the concept behind this is essentially that European teams are playing essentially only the best of the best every midweek. The thought of it is actually, as a fan, is actually, personally for me, exciting. The thought of seeing your team, up against, the likes of Juventus and Barcelona and Real Madrid, every midweek, there was that level of eliteness that we've always aspired to get to, is very exciting. After all, that was originally what the Champions League was created for. Essentially, it was only the best teams of individual countries in Europe would play against each other. So the actual principle of the idea, I think, is good. In my opinion, though, the biggest flaw with the concept that these teams have come up with is that essentially the founders of them can't be relegated, which makes me very, very nervous, because it essentially means that the teams almost don't have an incentive to play well, because they know that they can't be relegated, therefore they know their money's guaranteed in it. So I don't know, I think they should at least have some system that you essentially, the worst performing couple of teams, for example, have to basically fight or have a playoff round essentially to stay in the league. That way at least you have some kind of incentive to make sure you stay in there. That's just my view on it. Of course, money's a factor with this. We all know that the European clubs want more money. We've heard about it for years and years. That all the clubs are asking for bigger revenue income from TV rights, from games that are being broadcast. So of course, because ultimately, you've got to get money into your football club, in order for it to thrive and improve, because otherwise you're just going to stand still. Now that leads on to the supposed threats from the Premier League, from UEFA and FIFA. First of all, from the Premier League, threatening that they can exclude the 6 clubs that are involved, which is essentially them looking down upon or condemning the very same thing that the Premier League did when the Premier League was created in 1992. It essentially was created as a breakaway from the Football League by only the elite clubs. and coincidentally, four of those, the founders of the Premier League back then, were Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Spurs. So I just find it a bit of a coincidence that the Premier League is so quick to condemn something that essentially they've created. Because it's easy to forget that, part of the reason that this has happened is that the amount of money that from television rights that the Premier League have created over the years has essentially meant the biggest clubs just, their revenue just gets bigger and bigger, and the power that they've essentially been handed to them has essentially meant they control everything. In terms of the way that the rules are structured, the way that television money is distributed to other clubs. It's all down to their own power. So so it's, they can try and act like a Satan, but ultimately they've partly caused this. And the same goes for UEFA as well. I mean, just think of it. Would the Premier League realistically ban those 6 clubs? In my opinion, they can't. Because would any casual of the 4, 5, 6 billion people around the world who watch football, and especially the Premier League, would they really watch it if it didn't have those 6 teams in it? Highly doubtful, in my opinion. So they have essentially put themselves in a position where they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. So, and with UEFA, would they really ban England, Italy, Spain, Germany, France, whoever else, from playing at the World Cup? Again, they've ultimately given them so much control, and that's the reason that we've ended up in this situation. I'm not saying that I agree with what they're doing or anything, but ultimately that's why this has happened, or why it will be happening if it all goes through. Which, given the acceleration of everything that's over the last 24 hours, to me it's looking like it will. Which I've been a long non-believer in this. I've always kind of just dismissed it as it being illogical, or just fantasy stuff, or I've just never thought that it was possible to do, but clearly been proven wrong. And I'll just finish off on this thought. There's a sort of thesis going around that football is ruined or football is dead, and it's a load of nonsense. Of course it isn't dead. It's, football's evolving. Has done for, that's the reason it's stayed around for so long. That's why football is lasted for all of time that we've known. The Premier League was an evolution of football, and so was the Champions League. That was an evolution of football. And this is just following on that trend. And who knows? Maybe 10 years or so down the line, if it does happen and it becomes a success, maybe we'll look back on it as something that changed football for the better, or not. It's too early to say. As a fan, who loves watching football, the thought of the games is a good thing. The concerns over the ball and the lack of incentive to do well, and the closed up, essentially the closed era incentive of not being able to be relegated from it, is a concern. But I'll just simply say, if you don't want to support it, then don't. You're entitled to your opinion, and every fan has the right to their voice. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got to say on it, guys. as I said, just be honest with me, give me your thoughts on it. Where does this go from here? I don't know, but one thing is for certain: football will never be the same again. Thank you for watching, guys. I've been Bezos21, and I'll see you soon.